Hi, Gaia. This is Margie with Basmati. How are you?
Hi, I'm well.
So today,
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us. Today, we're talking with Gaia Sophia. She is a healer, spiritual guide, and proxy. So what I want to ask this, Gaia, is can you share with us a little bit what a proxy means to you?
Absolutely. This is one of my new favorite words that explains a lot, especially for the family of light doing work on this planet at this time. So a proxy, how I visualize it, is the center of the medicine wheel, the center of a spoke on a bike, the spokes on a bike. This is where you are anchoring yourself into physical form to receive and interpret information. Information is light, it is frequency. So you are receiving and interpreting information to bring down to the physical earth and the multidimensional earth, so the energy frequencies of the earth, in a way that is bringing lightness to the evolution of the human race. So that proxy energy, sometimes like some people are embodying it without necessarily being a healer or a channel or these typical energies we relate to a proxy. Like it is just a beingness. And that beingness sets out a frequency that other people can rise to. So the proxy can be through written word, it can be through healing, it can be through many different avenues, but it is a conduit of information that it shares through frequency.
Oh my gosh, that is so beautifully said. And so with that, I want to go into a little bit about your personal journey and how you became to be where you are at this moment, right?
Absolutely.
And then and in that, from there, going into what you offer, your offerings to clients and what that looks like. I know they blend, how our personal journey and healing work helps us support those we work with.
Well, absolutely. And I do believe that it is that you become what you need. So I have become the type of healer that I have looked for my entire life. So for me in particular, all of my understanding has to come through experience. I can learn things through reading them, through head knowledge, but that's exactly where it stays. It stays as head knowledge. And for something to become wisdom, it has to be embodied and experienced. So one of my teachers had said that all of my life, struggle upstream has really only been for research. Research of the human condition, what works, because suffering here feels real. Our mind, our emotions, our light, it feels so real that it can feel difficult or impossible to move out of an area that becomes a default pattern. So in my journey, when, I'll go through it quickly because it's a long journey. It's a story. We all have our story. Mm-hmm. But I was born into a family that my great-great-grandparents were medicine doctors in Sumatra, in Indonesia. Mm-hmm. My mom's half Indonesian, half Dutch. I look very Dutch. Mm-hmm. And so from a young age, those were the stories I held on to. Like that was something. That was, we all have aspirations in our life. Mm-hmm. Like that to me was the seed that was going to grow into the direction of my flowering. And growing up in a very blue-collar, small town, I really thought that my guides had made a mistake in this life, that it wasn't going to be anything out of the collective consciousness, out of the norm, out of the ordinary. And I really succumbed to that at a young age, thinking this is, I'm just going to ride this lifetime out. It was a mistake. And so I had an awareness at a young age that there was a mission, a connection, something beyond the illusion of what I was experiencing in life that was going to be here for me to find. I think of like Indiana Jones, like there was a mission to go on to, there was things to discover, and this journey was a discovering of myself, of my true realized nature. And so growing up with this idea, like I did have one very strong spiritual awakening happen at age 21, where my assemblage point of reality was shifted. And it did open me up into a new realm of existence, where I was still on the physical planet, but what I saw around me was an overlay of something like behind the curtain. Like I was starting to see and experience and have a physical experience of our connection to our interdimensional and star self. And for a period of time, all of my gifts came fully online of, clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience, like all of this stuff rushed online and put me into like a electric shock, like I frizzled out. And it was too much, too fast. And that was the cataclysmic experience that led me on a very serious journey of healing. Because as those fields kind of came back down into this very mundane physical existence, I wanted to figure out how to open those up with more alignment.
Yeah.
So then I did what I thought healers do. I started massage school. And to this day, I still use massage as an avenue to reach the multidimensional person and their soul and get their story to unwind in their body. And I think of it often as cheating, because if my hands are there, I have this full access to what I find important is your soul's journey. Like before you came here, what was the intention you set out to learn? Like we are in a school here. We are all in training. And we can be very distracted by the needs of our family, the needs of financially, the movement of the collective consciousness. And so I find my work really wants to finesse back that perspective back into full like sovereignty and ownership over self. So, I started studying somatic polarity. I studied the Akashic records. I studied this gamma wave healing. And I started working with a medicine man in New Mexico. And I started doing Vision Quest and Sweat Lodge. And so I wanted to consciously connect to this spiritual realm in a way that the relationship was a two-way street. So,
I'm just so smiling at the magnificence of your story and your strength and willingness to move forward, right? And that once you felt that, the embodiment, right? Even though you were fried for a minute, it didn't stop you, right? That touched it sparked something in you that reminded you, right? And you just kept seeking. And I do want to ask really quickly before you continue, when you were in alignment to the openness of receiving and did you find your medicine man in New Mexico easily? Did it feel like those things came to you more smoothly when you were in alignment?
Well, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is the key. And that's the key to what propels my work, is how do we recognize resistance so that we can love it and accept it and allow it to be, so we relax through it to the great allowance where it is orchestrated for us. We just have to be in that place of loving allowance to move with it. And I have seen, because this is something I track, is that you can open to these fields, and if it's not maintained, then the field will close and the opportunities also will go. And so it's part of our work right now with the frequencies of the earth and the frequencies of the celestial health is that to be these proxies of information to allow the light in, we have to work with our bodies, because it's about bringing it in and sustaining it. So then that gets into, what I've seen on your website, like the body nourishment, mindfulness practices. Like, what is it that works for you so that you return to that epicenter of loving oneness each and every moment? Then your life will unfold before you. You will have natural inspiration. And
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, well, I was just going to, tell you, how, like, those kind of things work. Like, when I was working in the somatic polarity, my teacher was a Lakota medicine woman. And I had met the medicine man doing my massage work. And I knew on first contact that that was a person that would be, it's like a tagged memory that our work was supposed to come together.
Yeah.
And it's like when things are in alignment, you do not have to force them. So in that moment, like, I was giving him a massage, and I didn't ask for anything else. I didn't ask for a phone number. I didn't ask for another way of contact. But it was through my teacher, my Lakota medicine woman teacher that was teaching polarity. It was through her that I was telling her about this man. And she was like, oh, yes, I know who that is. That's my brother. We'll be doing a ceremony on his land in 1 week as a class. And then we are now in a different position. Like, he is not coming to me, ask for help anymore. Now it's a different playing field that I could move forward, and we can move forward in a more equal place where I could even ask for, to start doing Vision Quest. Like, this is, and there's that allowance. It's like stepping away from forcing our reality to unfold, but allowing, and you won't miss it if you stay in that space of allowance.
I've had many experiences like that, and I'm sure you've had many more on your own journey. I do want to thank you for saying that about the physical body and embodiment. There are so many times and maybe you've seen this, where we forget about the physical body on our journey, or you've seen people do that. When you're working with clients, you encourage them to find what works for them. If someone has not maybe found a physical practice that works for them, do you feel them out and help them find a good way to start?
Well, that's definitely the whole intention, is that people remember who they are. And as healers, we're really facilitators for them. And facilitator, I think the root of it is facil, which is to make easy.
Yeah.
So here they come, they're up against their wall. Like, we all have walls. So they come up against their wall, and they feel stuck. They're at their wall. Their mind tells them they're done. There's all kinds of stories that happen at the wall. And so they come into a session with, like, for myself, And we'll like, okay, here is that wall. Let me hold your hand and make easy through that wall. And here are tools to practice that on your own, to keep that like root chakra grounded into the earth so that you feel a sense of safety and security, that you can let that story of anxiety and worry go because you are anchored in your root chakra. And one of, I would say, my masteries are with the energetic mastery of our human condition. So we have our 7 chakras and we have our energy bodies. And if any one of those is polarized, then it's going to make the information coming through askew. Mm-hmm. So let's hunt that. What is the one that is not working in conjunction with the other ones? Because they are all equally important. They are all equally valid. And what I find that's really big on Earth is like the head, the thinking, the belief systems. And so the spiritual, physical, the mental, physical, energetic body is one that will keep you from allowing the higher information in. And it will keep you circulating in this individualized story. So that's another area that we hunt that out. Do we look at it through the Akashic records? Do we look at it through your energy body? Do we look at it through your ancestors? So we start to track these things in the session so that the default of resistance can be moved out of the field. And then the awareness of it is not enough. And this is where I believe having a facilitator is really helpful at first, to get through the blockage, because that blockage is there because you haven't been able to move it on your own yet. So you're looking for someone that has information, that light in an area that you have darkness, you could say, because that's information in an area that you don't have information. So we bring that light into the darkness for transformation, but all of our guides want us to be in power of ourselves. So it doesn't work if we keep putting the power outside of ourselves and we go back to the same, like if the light switch is turned on off, you always ask your neighbor to turn it on. Like the neighbor, their job as a healer, as a facilitator, to teach you how to turn it on. So if it goes off again, you remember this road. Here, this is what you do. And I find in the shamanic realm, the spirit guides that help, and I do believe and feel the help of guides in every session, they want to give you homework and tools so that you anchor that into your reality. So you anchor that into that oneness of self. And then it's yours to keep. It is a remembrance of your uniqueness, your true nature, your beingness of God's source. And it's that vibration that's going to change the game on the planet. And that's the vibration that Mother Earth is holding for us to come to our own conclusion. She too has the power to do things for us, but as every mother knows, you want to empower your child to step in on their own, to see themselves as creator, as beingness.
I'm actually have chills and thinking about everything that you said, but also wanting to share a little bit about those co-addictive patterns, right? That we sometimes don't even recognize in ourselves. And when we're working with a facilitator or a healer, there's this magic that happens. I don't know if it's really magic or if it's just, it feels like magic if we haven't experienced it, right? Where there is that light that shined on those spots that we didn't even maybe know that that there was dark there, right? And how those patterns interweave sometimes in us. And it's really fascinating how when we're able to release pieces at a time, how other things shift away, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that to me, it does seem like magic from a human perspective, right? But it's really who we are.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So let's share a little bit about your sessions and your offerings, and that you are available to do remote work and what those will look like. And I know that they're for the individual, so if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about that and how people could contact you.
Yes. So people that are in BC, I do hands-on sessions, which are special and in person and in my home. And for the distance sessions, which are equally as fun, each one is a different experience and a different ride. I would say my training in the healing realm has been my entire life, and I did leave out that I have trained and assisted in the Caro medicine wheel here in British Columbia, and I have trained in Peru and Mexico. And so what I find where the greatest power lies is not in all of the tools that we've learned. All of those are valid and awesome, and I'm so grateful, but it lies in your unique expression. And so and it's the energy between two people. And I can honestly say there's been so many miracles, and there's been times that we've had to dig deeper. Like maybe this is just, there's so much resistance that we have to get through that resistance before we get to something that can be what we call a miracle. And so on the phone, I do sessions by phone, and what it looks like is someone, I would call them, we make a time, and I begin by opening the sacred space. So I call in the directions, I open up our energy field, I get permission from the client to have access to look into their field, into their sacred space. And I get their free will permission, and it's always under the highest, greatest good. And I ask that only what is most appropriate and beneficial be revealed. And I think these intentions are very important and powerful to make sure that we are working in absolute right alignment with the evolutionary process of this soul. And there are some patterns that maybe they need to chew on longer. Maybe it is time to let things go. Like each individual comes with their own fully unique experience, and I treat each session as a fully unique, different experience. So after we open the directions, we set the intention. I will open with a prayer that gives me access to the Akashic field. And the Akashic field has access to information of this soul's journey, of all things past and some things future. And so that there's a higher perspective, like it's like pulling out from the mouse vision, which is like the here and now, chair, drum, computer right here in front of me, and it pulls it out so that I can see more from a higher perspective, like more of the greater picture, why things in this person's life is happening. And then the person will give me a description, like what is happening at this time for this person that would call them forward to have a session with me. And through their words, through what they say, there's also another meaning behind the door that allows me to start to track what are the themes happening. Because we have endless, individual symptoms of experiences, but if you pull it back a little further, it starts to get more into the archetype of themes for human beings. And it becomes a bit less complicated. And so we pull it back, and then that's where the work begins. And sometimes, there are energies that are influencing the home or someone close to them that need to be moved out of the picture so that we have a clearer perception. So usually after I open the directions and open the Akashic records, then I'll do an energy clearing to make sure that we have full and clear access, that there isn't interception happening between our two fields. And then from there, like, it can go into many different avenues, and it consistent things to expect is using stones to help blow things out of the energy field, the chakras, or even in the records, even old stories and old patterns. I will use breath, and I'll ask for the participation of my client. So we are working together. So they are not just passively receiving. I think that, honestly, is part of the old paradigm, that we work together. We use a collective vibration and frequency to move energy. And breath is my go-to. Breath is my practice every day. I do an hour of breath work. My clients are on my table. I guide them into a breath pattern to start to call up the cellular memory that's in the physical and the energy bodies, because we want those old stories to start to move, because we don't want to live in a repeat of our past or our family's past or our Earth's past. Like, all of that is old paradigm. We want to be in the present. So breath is a magnificent way of moving that energy. From what it looks like on my end, I also have a few other tools that I'm very fond of. I use my rattle to stir up energy or remove holding of energy in their field. And I also use two different types of scented waters, the Florida water and a rose water, to assist in the movement of that energy out of their field. And so I see it as like we are working together to get to the root of what is causing an unconscious pattern of repetition in any realm. Like, this is in our mind, in our emotions, in our physical body. Like, I had one client that had so many energetic parasites that she was like going under water, and nothing was working for her in the physical, like medical and naturopath realm, because there was these energetic
parasites. Literally, yeah.
And once those were removed, our whole session was just on that. And now these other avenues that she's working with to help her heal are working. And I guess that's where I find my work most interesting. Like, what is the source of it? How do we find the source of it so that your life can work for you? And I think that's what interests me so much. And I think that's why I've had, the life experiences that I've had, because I've been like, what works? Because when we're stuck as a human race in our mind and our patterns, when we're stuck, like, we just produce more of the same.
Yeah.
Like, let's get out of that as a collective, as humanity, as the earth. Let's free ourselves.
And it starts with us one by one, right? Our own collective unit, and then that branches out, It's like once we, you, I, everyone listening, take steps to work on ourselves, and that shifts on so many levels. One person has the ability to shift so much in the consciousness, right?
Well,
like,
absolutely. That gives me goosebumps as you say that.
I lost my train of thought for a second, because that's so empowering for us to know that, and it's not in this weird self-importance way. It's in a real way of who we are. I also want to say, when you mentioned that you're interactive, you're having them breathe with you and work with you, and I absolutely am in awe and love that you shared that, because so many people lay passively while practitioners are looking for them, and that's great if that works for them. In my own experience, when I've participated in my own healing sessions, one, it's self-empowering, And
Absolutely.
it's teaching us that we really can self-heal, but that we are an active participant in this life, right? And we're all here together. And that actually, you had me in tears a bit, because those experiences really are the ones that, for me, that I can feel, and there's that deep wisdom that helps me integrate, and there's this knowingness of like, oh yeah, I've got this, right?
Exactly.
And
yes.
so it's so amazing, and I want to thank you for sharing that. Gaia, is there anything else you want to say before we go?
Yeah, I just had a thought. I didn't think I shared. I also, I carry a tuba and I pour sweat lodge, and that's one experience I have over and over again in the lodge. Is like, they don't need me to get it right or be perfect. They just need me to show up at least halfway, and they'll come the other way. And I think that's the piece that we want to leave humanity with. It is like, we are saving ourselves, and we are inspiring ourselves to be a full participant in this evolutionary ride of existence. And it can be exhilarating and fun and cooperative. And that participation is where we bust out of depression and these lower vibratory fields and see ourselves for that unique, absolutely essential part of all existence. Like, we have the power individually to radiate love and transform wherever we go. And that's like what I want to leave each session with, each person feeling like they have got this. We can do this. And come online. Come back online.
Oh, Gaia, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. I know we will talk again. This is GaiaSophiaHealing.com. And again, it's an honor.
Well, thank you so much. It was such a blessing to hear your voice and talk with you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.